time to fuel your business success. Welcome to Harmonious at Lunch. We're bringing you bite-sized advice and expert conversations to drive clarity and growth 5 days a week. Make sure you join our Facebook group at humanopt.com/lunch, where listeners like you and our guests hang out so we can find harmony in business together. If you're building a business, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
How many Brandons are too many Brandons? No, I'm kidding. That's not the topic. That's not the question for today's episode. But what the question is how do you get through life's challenges when life goes a little bit sideways? That's what we're going to answer today. I have a very special guest. Yes, another Brandon, if you put that together. Brandon Held, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Hey, Brandon, thank you for having me. And to answer your question, there are never too many Brandons.
Amen to that. Let's have another Brandon party, more Brandon parties. Oh man, we're going to have fun here. This is a good episode, but it's also a very serious topic. And I really want to help people through it. I know it's your passion too, of what happens when life goes sideways, when you're just kind of down in the dumps. So before we answer the question, you have a podcast, you've turned this into your life's mission, at least at this present moment.
Yes.
Why is this topic important to you?
It's one of those things where at one point at my life, at my lowest of low, I was going through a divorce, unemployed, had to sell my house, lost everything I had. And I attempted to commit suicide by taking a full bottle of Ambien. And I was rescued, I was saved, and I lived. And actually, when I first woke up, I was mad that I was saved and I lived. But after that, based off of faith and some thinking, I figured, well, this is a second chance at life for me. So I need to go make and live the best life that I can live. And also, I just felt inspired to help others that might be going through what I went through and help them see whatever situation you're in that's bad, it's temporary. You can get out of it and live your best life. So it was almost like a calling to me that I needed to do this.
That's amazing how you transform that, because it's crazy to be like in that position where you can't see any other way out than potentially taking your own life. And I know, some of our listeners have been there before and have made it to the other side, thankfully. But there's also people who haven't.
Right.
And maybe there's someone listening who, whether it's you or someone who's in this very position right now. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because it really is a big conversation. What were you in those weeks and months leading up to the attempt to take your own life? I'm trying not to be, banned by any platform, so I'm trying to be sensitive here. But
sure.
In those weeks and months leading up to it, like, what were you focusing on? Why could you only see the negative to where you drew this conclusion where, like, this is my only way out?
So I'll be honest with you. I've had suicidal ideation since I was about 17 years old. I had in the past thought about doing it when I got to some rough times in life. But I just couldn't do it because I have sons, and, I also obviously have a mother and other family members that would be devastated by my passing if I did something like that. But really, when I had reached that point, it was just, why did I go through everything I had gone through in life? I had served 4 years in the Air Force, 4 years in the Army. I had gotten a bachelor's degree, and I had gotten a master's degree in business administration. And, I came from nothing. I came from an alcoholic, drug addicted family where I'm literally the only person in my family that made it out, because I was trying to break generational curses. And I just felt like I failed. I felt like all my hard work was for nothing. And I just didn't at that point see a reason to be here anymore.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy that happens to people. I mean, like you said, you checked all the boxes on paper, and it amounted to nothing essentially in that moment, right?
Right.
So turning the corner and being on the other side, kind of taking a step back and then making the decision to do something positive with your life and to push forward and help other people and change their lives and their stories. What is what has that journey been like? Because I'm sure the struggles haven't necessarily gone away. I mean, that's life, right? It's in your bio, it's in your tagline. Life is crazy. I agree with
Yeah.
you. Life is crazy. But you made a choice and you made a change, and now you're seeing that through. So what's sort of been the path since then?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's been almost the complete opposite. It's one of those things where you hear people talk about thinking positively and focusing on the positive, and that's a concept, right? It's something you don't necessarily, some people may not necessarily believe that's how life works. As a matter of fact, I have a brother that I know doesn't, because I've been trying to get him to change his mindset. But ever since I changed my mindset and rewired my brain into just focusing on the positive and believing positive, good things are going to happen, which was not necessarily something I did before. I just kind of hoped. This turned into, now I believe it. Now it will happen. My life is the best it's ever been. I mean, I've jumped in salary by a significant amount, more than I had ever made prior to that. I had been divorced 3 times. None of my marriages were particularly any good. It was 2 people struggling to make something work the whole time, and not giving up because, we had committed. Now I have the best marriage that I've ever had, and I'm 52, and I have a 28-year-old wife, and she's a lawyer, and she's from Brazil, and she's beautiful, and I just have, the best life. My kids are a little more grown now. They're in their late teenage years, and I have great relationships with them. And really, life is just so amazingly good and only getting better. And I really just attribute it to the positivity and belief that that's the way it's going to be.
That's such a beautiful story. How do you keep that belief though? When life tries to hit back and life becomes a little bit crazy, do you have a daily practice? Do you have a mantra you recite to yourself? How do you stay focused on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, obviously, that's not an overnight transition, right? You don't just flip a switch and everything's different now. It definitely was a practice of, as if things started sliding or starting getting difficult, or I was going through something, to pull myself out of whatever negative place my brain was taking me to. So it really just became, mind over matter. And if you do it enough, if you practice it enough, it's like, shooting a jump shot or anything else. It just becomes natural. It becomes second nature to you. And it just is the way you are. That's the way you become. And that's the point that I'm at in life. It's not even if something tough hits, which frankly, honestly, doesn't happen very often anymore. I mean, really, my life is really great. Like, I hate to sound like Donald Trump or something, but really, I mean, compared to what it used to be versus what it is now, I just don't really have any issues like I used to. And when I do get the slightest bump in the road or whatever, my mind just doesn't go where it used to. It just understands, all right, this is exactly that. It's a bump in the road. We'll get through it, and life will go on and be even better.
Yeah, I love your outlook, and it's not. I don't think it sounds cheesy or bad at all to say life is great. I mean, if that's what you truly believe, then that's what your life is. Just at the very same instant, I can say life sucks, life is hard, and that would also be true. It's really whatever you believe is true for you, and I think that's the message you're trying to get across here, because you believed years ago that your life wasn't worth living.
Right.
And that was very true
Right.
in that moment. I'm curious for someone who's maybe on the outside. Let's say they have never gotten to that low. They're a relatively positive individual. They take life's ups and downs on the chin, so to speak. But they have, the listeners of this audience are business owners. They have employees. They have family members who may be going through or experiencing exactly what you have in the past. How do you recognize that? I always find that so interesting, where you hear stories where people have taken their own life, and the immediate family, their parents even, were like, we had no idea. They seem so happy. How do you spot that in somebody else so that maybe you can intervene or get them a little bit of help?
Yeah. So first, before I answer your question, I do want to say that I have taught my kids now for years that life is what you make it, right? If you say life sucks, you're right. Life sucks. If you say life is great, you're right. Life is great. So it really is just the perspective you put it into. So I just wanted to reinforce what you were saying there with that. Also, that can be a tough one, because I would say if you weren't really close to me, you wouldn't know that I was that low, because out in public, my public persona was smiling and happy, and because that's kind of who I always was as a person. So I didn't know how to be like grumpy or mean to other people. I just felt, people deserve your kindness and respect, and unless they do something to you, and then then it's different once they treat you a certain type of way. So it can be hard to tell if you have that demeanor. But if someone doesn't have that demeanor, if someone just looks down, or even distracted, say, you can just start by asking a few questions about how they're doing and what they're going through. And you never know, they might just open up to you right away. Like, no one has just taken the time to ask them that question, so they haven't had a chance to let it out. So just by recognizing that somebody is distracted or going through something, just ask some simple questions about how they're doing, and that might open the door that they've been looking for.
Do you find that that's really common, though, that we just kind of ignore people, and we say things like, how are you doing, all the time? I probably said that to you as you got onto this
You
recording,
did.
right?
Yes.
Like, how are you doing? But following it up with, how are you really doing?
Yeah. I mean, more of a, that's a good point. I guess I didn't elaborate on that enough. I mean, like a serious, like, sit down, get eye to eye, and ask in a serious tone, how are you doing? Right? Not just the in passing, how's it going? Not that type of thing. Like they need to know that you clearly recognize that there's something going on with them, and you're opening that door for them to communicate. So yeah, that's a great point you bring up there.
Yeah, I had this moment at the grocery store a couple of weeks ago now, and there's this one cashier I always go to. Her name's Maria. Shout out to you, Maria. I love you. And she was having one of those off days where, I was just excited to see her. I was like, hey, Maria, how you doing? And she wasn't having it. She wasn't her normal bubbly self. And I just got this little nudge to say, ask her again. Say that one more time.
There
and I
you go.
said, how are you really doing, Maria? Because you don't seem okay. And her eyes welled up with tears, and you could tell it was the first time, like, that day, that someone probably even noticed she was having a rough day.
Yes.
And she told me. But I mean, this is not to pat myself on the back. It's like, it's so simple to really connect with people. And I don't think we do that often enough, because we're so caught up in our own lives and what's going on. And from your perspective, like, if someone took the time to do that with you prior to your challenges, what sort of an impact do you think that would have had on your life?
That's hard to answer, because I've always been, by force, by the way my life has worked out, I've always forced to have been independent. I've always forced to have been take care of myself and not be able to rely on anyone else. This marriage that I have now is truly the first time in my life I can count on someone else to be there for me in any capacity, whether it's emotionally, financially, whatever that case is. this is the first time I've had that. So at that point in time, I honestly don't know if anything anyone could have said to me would have pulled me out of it, but that doesn't mean that that's true. It really depends on the person, right? I get people to open up to me and tell me things all the time, and they say to me, I would never talk about this to anyone else, right? And they tell me, like, you're really disarming, you're easy to talk to. And if you have that kind of personality, you should use it, right? Which is why I want to do this. I want to do this because people do feel comfortable opening up to me and sharing with me. And I also have good follow-up guidance and advice that I can give them to help them through that situation. And so I think those things are very important.
Yeah. And to be fair, it kind of put you on the spot there. It's impossible. It's not even hard. It's truly impossible to know if something would have changed or if you would have reacted different. But it's
right.
more, the message there is, just because you don't know what could happen doesn't mean you shouldn't say anything to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Or you shouldn't offer to care about them. That's really my takeaway from this episode is you don't know what other people are going through.
Right.
If it's you, reach out to somebody. If it's somebody else, ask that second question. Ask how are you really doing? Get to know them. Care about human beings. And I really love this message. I love that you've made it your mission here. So you have a podcast and you are helping to spread this message. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that and where the listeners can find you, learn more about you, and further connect?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So my podcast is Brandon Held, Life is Crazy. And you can, anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find it by typing that in the search bar. Also, I do have my own website, brandonheld.com. It can also link you up to the podcast from there as well. I am a life coach. And I'll be honest, I don't really push the life coaching because people think it's a sales pitch, and I'm not here to sell anything. I literally genuinely want to help people. So if someone feels like that's something they could use for me, then I'm available for it for sure. But really the point that I try to make is helping others get through whatever low point they're in, helping others identify that someone else is in a low point and they could use your help, especially if it's a loved one or someone that respects you and looks up to you. You're probably the person. And that's the thing. I have guests all the time. We really go through their low points in life and who helped them. And it really many, many times was just someone who was like the one person that could have said something to them to, quote unquote, save them, that did speak up and say something. And so that's super important for people to understand. If you're in that position, don't overlook it. Don't ignore it. Don't worry about hurting someone's feelings or bothering them or making them feel bad. If people need help, they need help. So just help them.
Yeah. Beautifully said. The link is on the screen. It's down below in the show notes, links to podcasts, websites, social media. So go connect, go listen to the podcast down there. Brandon, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And for those of you listening, did we answer the question? I think we did. First and foremost, there's never too many Brandons. Of course, you can never have enough at one time. But second of all, what do you do when life gets challenging? You reach out. That's what you do. And you be that reach out for somebody else, whether it's someone on your team, whether it's you, a family member, or one of your friends, one of your close relationships. Reach out, ask that second question, and who knows, you could save a life. This is way bigger than a podcast, way bigger than your business. Take this message, please do something about it, and we'll see you on tomorrow's episode of Harmonious at Lunch.
Another episode of Harmonious at Lunch in the books. I hope this episode made you think and you grabbed some actionable ideas to propel your business. Don't forget to like, comment your takeaways, and subscribe wherever you're listening so we can help more entrepreneurs just like you achieve harmony